Again tonight, we'll show you right here live protests taking place in New York City for what's being called, quote, the Million Hoodie March, a reference to the hoodie Trayvon Martin was wearing when he was shot and killed in Sanford, Florida. New calls today for the arrest of a Neighborhood Watch volunteer who shot and killed the 17-year-old boy. Martin was unarmed, walking from a convenience store to the home of his father's fiancée last month in Sanford, near Orlando, when George Zimmerman shot him. Zimmerman says he fired in self-defense after he felt threatened, something he would be entitled to do under Florida law. Today on CNN, one of Zimmerman's neighbors came to his defense.
George Zimmerman is a good dude. He's straight up. And that's why I'm front-running for him today. I myself credit George for thwarting a burglary to my own house.
Members of Trayvon Martin's family blame racial profiling for his death. The Sanford, Florida Police Department's response to the shooting is being scrutinized at every level. Police questioned the shooter after the shooting, but didn't arrest him. Today, Trayvon Martin's parents is devastated. Mother says she still believes her son eventually will get the justice he deserves.
It's a nightmare. It's hard to sleep. Everything reminds me of him. And the only thing that's fueling us to keep pressing on for justice is the fact that we know that justice will be served.
Let's talk now to Norton Bonaparte. He's the city manager of Sanford, Florida. And, sir, on the city website the other day, answering some questions about this controversial case, you wrote this: the Sanford Police Department has conducted a complete and fair investigation of this incident. Do you stand by that, sir, or have you changed your mind?
The Sanford police have told me that they did conduct a complete and fair investigation. Not being a police officer, what I've done, and along with the mayor and Corrine Brown, as the congresswoman, have asked the United States Department of Justice, as law enforcement officials, to come in and take a look at that investigation.
But that's an unequivocal sentence. Police department has conducted a complete and fair investigation. Do you have second thoughts now? Should you maybe take that statement down? Do you doubt it?
That was a report that was prepared by the police department and sent to the state's attorney. I did not review the report, and I think it's only fair to have the state attorney have a chance to take a look. If they think it's not a complete and thorough review, they too will be doing some additional investigative work.
You're in the middle, sir, now of a national controversy that is getting global attention. You also write this on the city website: as we move forward and strive to answer the questions that are a point of controversy in the community, we ask for your patience, understanding, and assistance in getting the correct information to the community. That's an appeal to you, sir, the city manager, for patience. The NAACP has said the police chief should be fired. The victim's family has said Mr. Zimmerman should be arrested immediately. Congresswoman Brown, you just mentioned her, said he should be charged with federal hate crimes. Are they wrong? Should they stand back and let these investigations run its course?
Now, how long had he been missing when this was going down?
Since he left the house, which had been over 12 hours, 13 hours.
And then what happened?
The 3 units pulled up. It was a marked car, an unmarked car, and a service aid car, which the service aid car was a chaplain in it. I didn't know it because he just had on a regular uniform. The first officer that approached, I identified myself, told him I was filing a missing persons report. Right. The second officer approached. He introduced himself as a major crimes investigator. At that time, it didn't register to me. He asked me to describe my son. I described him to him. He told me to give him a second. He walked to his vehicle, got a folder, came back, asked, can we go in the house? We went in the house. He asked me to sit down. I sat down. He pulled out a picture of my son on the ground dead. Asked me, was that my son? And I confirmed that it was.
Now, Attorney Crump, why couldn't, if Trayvon had a cell phone, why couldn't they look at the cell phone and trace the numbers and call somebody?
Well, it's one of the things you would ask yourself. The police have subpoena power. They could have subpoenaed those records and stuff to find out who he was. But even more relevant than that, Reverend Al, is they could have knocked on the doors around that apartment complex and say, is your son here? Is your son missing? Because Trayvon had a baby face. And they initially just accepted Zimmerman's version as the gospel, that this was some little thug who was trying to break in people's houses, that he wasn't around here. A good, fair, and impartial investigation would have said, well, let's find out if this kid lives in this neighborhood. They didn't do that. They didn't
go around and ask people, did they know him?
No. No.
And then I understand they drug tested him and not Zimmerman.
Exactly. It makes no sense when you think about he's dead on the ground and you do a background check on him, but you don't do a background check on the shooter. You do a drug and alcohol analysis on him, but you don't do a background check on the adult who just shot this teenager. It makes no sense. How do you explain that? If Trayvon would have been the shooter, I guarantee you they would have did a background check on him.
When you heard the 911 tapes, I'm sure this is probably one of the worst moments of your life. How did you feel, and what reaction inside as a mother did you have hearing the actual encounter with the man that ended up killing Trayvon?
When I heard the 911 tapes, I was absolutely sure that it was my baby crying for help. It hurt my heart. My heart was aching because I knew I wasn't able to help him.
So you are convinced that one yelling help on the tapes was your son, Trayvon?
Yes, it is. Most definitely, that's my son. The
reason that's important is because Zimmerman has said that that's him, or some people have said that was him, but you're sure the one screaming for help on those 911 tapes was your son? I'm
sure that's my son. That's my baby.
You had said to me when you were on the show last week that you all raised Trayvon to be orderly and to be diligent, and your family, you're not anti-anybody, you're not in organizations, y'all just regular people making a living. So you had no axe to grind. So this must have been just something surreal to you out of nowhere to be in the middle of all of this, and all your son did was go to the store to get some Skittles and iced tea.
Yeah, it's disturbing. And we instill in our kids that you have to be patient with individuals that you don't know. And Trayvon knew that being approached by a strange individual, he knew that he was going to have to make a decision. Let me walk fast, get away, whatever. He wasn't a confrontational kid, but he wasn't going to be accosted by someone that he didn't know.
Right.
They keep saying over and over that the stand your ground law. Trayvon was standing his ground. He didn't know who this guy was. This was a stranger. This was in today's society, you have pedophiles, you have murderers, you have kidnappers. He didn't know what he was coming up against. He just wanted to get home.
Yeah, Reverend Sharpton, it is real important what happened yesterday. It showed that what Zimmerman said was not accurate at all, because Trayvon was a kid like many teenagers, they talk on the phone constantly. His mother and father say he always had that earpiece in his ear with his phone connected.
You referring to the fact he was talking to the young lady, the 16-year-old young lady that he was dating?
Yes, sir.
On the phone during the whole
time. When he went to the store, when he came back from the store, all day they talked. When you look at these cell phone records, that blows Zimmerman's story out the water, because she says, and it's so logical when she tells the story, he was walking home from that 7-Eleven, it started raining. He ran into the complex, had to hit the code, got into the gate, went to the first building he saw to get out the rain, and stood there, let the rain subside. Then he starts back walking back, she calls him back because he got off when it was raining, and then he says, I think this dude is following me. And he says, well, I really think he's following me. He's kind of walked slow to see if he's following him. And then she says, you should run home. And that's when Trayvon runs. And then you hear Zimmerman on the 911 tape say he's running now. And she is listening to Trayvon tell her play-by-play what's happening. And the most telling thing, Reverend Sharpton, is her last call. She calls at 6:54, and they talk for a minute. Then at 7:12, she calls. The police, based on their records, get there at 7:17. And when they get there, Trayvon Martin has been shot and is dead on the ground. Her call on the phone records lasted 4 minutes. She heard the first part of the altercation. She says Trayvon turned around and said, "Why are you following me?" And the voice responded, "Why are you in here? What are you doing around here?"
Let's take a break. We're with Trayvon Martin's parents and their lawyer. Please stay with us, and we'll continue our conversation right after this.